you see someone change in front of you, and you know there's no going back. It scares me to death.
Every January, most people who review or talk about movies on YouTube tend to piece together a top 10 list of their favorite movies from the year prior. In order to stand out from the crowd, and also because I was too lazy to do this any sooner, I decided to wait until March, by which time most YouTubers aren't really talking about movies from 2020 anymore. I know what you're thinking. Sounds kind of stupid. Why would anybody care about a top 10 list of the best movies of 2020 3 months into the new year? Well, as you've likely heard, 2020 was a year like no other, and as a result of the ongoing global pandemic, movie release dates from 2020 were pushed back months, sometimes multiple times. Some films that were supposed to be released last year didn't arrive until 2021, even though they're officially considered 2020 films, according to their profiles on websites like IMDb and Letterboxd. And so, some of these so-called 2020 films were not available, at least to me, until only recently, such as Saint Maud or The Dark and the Wicked. I feel like I've now had a chance to see almost all of the horror films I've wanted to see from last year. In this video, if you care to stick around, I will share with you my top 10 favorite horror films of 2020. So, here we go. A sister and brother return to the family homestead where their father is slowly dying and their mother is understandably distraught, but also disturbed and distant. The siblings soon realize that something evil has invaded their family home as they are terrorized by whatever is slowly killing their father. Directed by the same guy behind 2008's The Strangers, The Dark and the Wicked is at times bleak and unsettling, and it does a good job at keeping you intrigued in this family's unnerving conflict. However, it felt a bit rushed and undeveloped at other times, and its ending left me somewhat unsatisfied. Soon after Kay and her daughter Sam return to their remote family home following the disappearance of the family matriarch, the widowed Edna, they discover that something sinister has taken hold of both Edna and the house itself. Although Relic, which was co-produced by Jake Gyllenhaal and marked the feature directorial debut for Natalie Erica James, isn't exactly offering up any enticing twists or salacious gore, or even an original concept for that matter. It relies on evoking dread and building tension to compel its audience to stay invested until the bitter end. Taking its sweet time to unravel, Amulet is centered around Tomaz, an ex-soldier who is now homeless but is offered a place to stay at a decaying home in London, which is inhabited by a beautiful young woman named Magda and her dying mother. As the story moves along, we see that Tomaz is starting to develop feelings for Magda, who seems a bit off. His feelings for her don't wane even after Tomaz discovers that there's something insidious going on in the attic of the house, where Magda's mother is seemingly imprisoned. Toss in a suspicious nun and you've got yourself a creepy little film that seems to have fallen between the cracks. One might argue that not a lot actually happens in the beach house and that the payoff isn't worth the investment, but if you go into this film with an open mind and zero expectations, you should at least be satisfied. Two troubled college students head to a deserted beach getaway to spend some time together, but end up struggling to survive alongside some unexpected guests as a mysterious infection disrupts their holiday. Although it is a slow build-up to the film's climax, it is a tense and intriguing ride along the way, as a series of unsettling events give way to an apocalyptic episode that feels almost like a throwback to the sci-fi films of the 1950s. Making his feature film directorial debut, Jeffrey A. Brown elicits with The Beach House those brooding existential thoughts that lay dormant in the deep burrows of our minds. There's always an elevated risk when making a modern film based on an old story that has already been told through cinema numerous times before. The last time H.G. Wells' 1897 novel The Invisible Man had been adapted by Hollywood was in 2000's Hollow Man, which was panned by critics despite making a sizable profit. The 2020 adaptation is far superior and is perhaps the best adaptation of Wells' classic in any medium. Elizabeth Moss gives a stellar performance that draws real emotion, so that we agonize alongside her as she is essentially haunted by a relentless ghost hell-bent on controlling every aspect of her life. We live in an era when technology has advanced enough to bring this 124-year-old story to life like never before, while a polished script and an exceptional lead performance gives The Invisible Man a deeper level of emotion and terror. For most of Saint Maud, it is unclear whether certain experiences are actually happening in reality for the main character, or if it's all simply in her head, as some sort of mental breakdown caused by a work-related tragedy. Maud is a young hospice nurse and a newly converted Roman Catholic who suddenly becomes obsessed with saving the soul of the woman she is currently taking care of, Amanda, a hedonistic dancer with a chronic illness. Maud's behavior worsens, as does her mental state, as horrific scenes and visions make us question if she's actually losing her mind or experiencing something beyond this world. Saint Maud is an A24 feature, by the way, so that should be enough to know what you're getting here in terms of quality. Isolation is often embraced as a way to pad a horror film's fear factor, and it works especially here in The Lodge, as a soon-to-be stepmom becomes stranded at a remote holiday home in the middle of winter with her fiancé's 2 children. The kids begin to untangle the dark past of their stepmom-to-be, and a series of disturbing events transpire as their hope for survival fades. The Lodge is a dreary, atmospheric, slow burn that leaves you somewhat unsettled. With its wintry backdrop, stylish sequences, and almost claustrophobic dread, the film doesn't ever allow its audience to feel at ease for long, insisting that an underlying foreboding remain intact throughout. Although I found the ending somewhat disappointing, I immediately began to concoct a possible prequel that would delve into the backstory of the film's lead character. One can hope. It's increasingly difficult to be innovative and original when it comes to horror films these days, especially in the particular genre of so-called found footage. Rob Savage's Host, however, comes off as something different, setting itself apart from most films in this realm in various ways. It centers around 6 friends who hold a seance via Zoom during a COVID lockdown, guided at first by a medium they hired. The seance then takes a dark turn and things soon escalate into madness. Sure, there are elements in Host that are prevalent in numerous horror films, but it uses a modern and topical way to implement them, while also refusing to overstay its welcome by cueing the credits less than an hour in. Overall, this film's popcorn and Saturday night movie fun factor is why it ranks so high on this list. It's always a treat to come across an original idea, especially when it's within the horror realm, and Possessor is certainly unlike anything else I've seen in a while. Andrea Riseborough plays an elite corporate assassin who uses brain implant technology to take control over other people's bodies in order to kill high-profile targets, though with every mission she gets further and further away from her true self. With her latest possession, she becomes trapped in the mind of a man who threatens to obliterate her for good. It is a provocative vision by director-writer Brandon Cronenberg, who just so happens to be the son of legendary Canadian filmmaker David Cronenberg, and it serves as a disturbing piece of dystopian fiction that is even more frightening because it isn't too far beyond belief. And because everyone else is doing it, here are 5 honorable mentions that narrowly missed this list.
아주 재밌는 생각이 하나 났거든?
It's in the static, it's in the moisture. It's in here, it's out there.
They're right here. They're trying to tell us something. She's here! Sarah!
From dust we started, to dust we return. Every corpse tells a story.
Guys, when we watched that movie, we unleashed a sex demon.
In addition to its emotional storytelling and genuine moments of terror, His House, from first-time director Remy Weeks, sheds a light on the plight of refugees in a way that feels both respectful and empathetic. After a Sudanese couple make a harrowing escape from their war-torn homeland, they are granted asylum in England, where they struggle to adjust and fit in. They are assigned a shabby house on the outskirts of London, where the couple begin to experience terrifying and unexplainable events. His House is built around a fresh concept, 2 fantastic leads, and some truly haunting imagery, and I wish that more horror directors would put as much effort into quality filmmaking as Weeks did here. If this is his first venture into feature filmmaking, I'm excited to see what his future has in store. There you have it, my top 10 favorite horror films of 2020. What did you think, and were any of these titles on your own top 10 list? Please tell me your thoughts and recommendations in the comments below. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you will subscribe to iHeartHorror if you liked it. Take care.